What is up, people? Van from the VaniverseGaming channel here, giving you my first impressions on a game called Raidborn. Now, back in February of 2023, Steam had a whole bunch of games up that you could demo. I demoed a whole bunch of them, and this game just stuck out to me to where I really was sad when the demo was over. I really enjoyed it, and I want to share with you this game to give it some light to the people who follow my channel, who maybe like similar games as I do and might enjoy this when it releases. So without further ado, let's kind of talk about Raidborn. So first off, let's talk about the art style and how it looks. Now, Raidborn is very, to me, Minecrafty, voxel, pixel, whatever you want to call it. And it's a style of art that I usually do not enjoy. I prefer my more realistic type art style and that kind of thing. And so usually I'm turned off by this, and at first pass I was. In addition to the art style, they do a good job with the gameplay. The gameplay is probably the best part about the game. It is very similar to a lot of other games that I have played where there is a central hub system. That's where your house is, that's where the city is, and then you can utilize the map to then teleport to the different areas across the map. I like that idea versus having to do some overland travel and all that, and I think it makes sense for this particular type of game. Now, on top of the gameplay, there is a central city hub that pretty much is your one-stop shop for all of your questing. There is a main quest line that kind of goes on in the game, trying to figure out some things about what is happening. And then in addition, within that little town, there are multiple side quests you can do that are all linked to the different maps within the game. So you may have a side quest to gather some mushrooms, and there may be specific types of dungeons on the world map where you could do that in. So on top of just going to clear the dungeon and getting the loot or to progress your main storyline, there's also reason to go into a lot of the different dungeons via the side quests. Now, that is pretty much how that works from a gameplay standpoint. You are following a main quest line, you are using your house as your hub, and then you are teleporting around to the different dungeons to complete quests. What makes this game special, in my opinion, is whoever designed the combat did an amazing job making the combat fun. And that is where I think this game shines, is in the combat. There are different weapons and armor combinations that you can utilize with this game. You can do range combat, you can do single-handed combat with a shield, you can do a big heavy two-hander, and each one, it drastically affects the playstyle. If you want to go two-hander, it's going to be much slower. Yes, the damage is much better, but then you also have to make sure that you're utilizing it correctly. Are you jousting? Because it's almost like if you have a two-hander, they're going to be hitting faster than you, so you almost have to start your swing and then run up to them, and when your swing comes down, you kind of hit them before they can hit you. So it's a jousting gameplay that I'm used to playing in old games like EverQuest. The range combat is by far my favorite in Raidborn, and they did a fantastic job with it. They did a great job because in a lot of games with archery and with range combat, it's one of those things where it's just an auto hit. You know, you just put your cursor on and you fire your arrow and it's going to hit. And even if they move, it's going to hit. They did a very good job with the physics of the ranged weapon, that the more that you hold back and the more that you fire it, the further the arrow goes. It has the drop off on the arrow, so actually positioning where you're going to shoot the arrow is super important in the game. And if you miss, you miss, and you can't regather your arrows. And so you also have to be very cognizant of how many arrows you have. They weigh some, they cost, and they do a really great job with it. Same with the armor, right? There's some trade-offs to which armor you're going to wear from a stamina, weight, armor class, hit point thing. And so they just do a great job balancing the combat to make it feel where not everything is super overpowered and that there's trade-offs to every weapon and armor that you pick up in the game. So for me, I preferred to go more light armor and go range combat and try and kill stuff without getting up in their face. I did play the shield and sword for a little bit, which was a lot of fun. I was having a good time blocking and then using my kick to kind of push them back and then swinging with my sword. There are another aspect of this game is not only the combat, then there's also a skill tree. And you can then lean into the skill tree to make yourself better depending on which weapons you're using and which armors you're using. So I really like that aspect of it. It reminds me a lot of the Skyrim gameplay with kind of the graphics of, say, a Minecraft or something of that. So the other fun part about this, and this is where I think the combat even gets escalated even more, is they put environmental things in the maps. So for instance, all across the maps, there are areas where there's a wall with spikes on it, with the expectation that you are going to kick them into the spikes. Depending on how hard you kick them, what hit points they have, what armor they have on, you actually can kill them just by kicking them into the spikes. And I'm going to tell you that was probably the most fun part of the game, was literally kicking people until they went into the spikes. That was like my utmost favorite part of this game, was finding the spikes, dragging the enemies to them, and then kicking them into the spikes. It was fantastic. And so I just really enjoyed all of the combat. And when it comes to the enemies, right, it is an indie, it is a demo. The enemies were not that different, right? There wasn't a ton of variety in the enemies, mostly undead enemies. They did have some casters, they did have some archers, and they did a good job of making you kind of worry that, you know, hey, I got to take out this caster before he nukes me to death with his spells. Or, hey, this archer's over here bugging me, I gotta take him out. And your stamina management is really important in this game. All of your kicks and blocks and attacks all work off of your stamina bar. And so you can't just sit there with your shield up and let them attack you, because if you do, then you're going to run out of stamina and they're going to shield break you. The other thing is they do a good job on certain heavy attacks and whatnot that you can't block. You have to dodge out of the way or move, or some that you can block. And I just really appreciate the level of detail that they put into the combat, they put into the AI of the enemy, so that you feel like you're building a character, you're customizing the character based on the gear and the skills, and you're having a good time running through the different dungeons and utilizing the different aspects of that dungeon in your combat. So ultimately, I am super excited for Raidborn to come out. I was very sad when I got to level 4 or 5 or whatever it was when the demo ended. I really wanted to keep playing through it, and there was a lot more to explore, and I am looking forward to this game coming out and being able to play through the full version. So I hope this video, in my opinion, is enough to either say, yep, this is a game for me, or nope, this isn't. Please leave your comments below in the video if you have any questions or anything I didn't cover. Or just give it a like, because that helps with my little YouTube algorithm and all that fun stuff. Alright, this is Van from the VaniverseGaming channel. Thank you for watching. Cheers, and peace out.